So this session embodies this part. So far we have focused on sustainability, on tourism, and of course we started the USI, Università della Svizzera Italiana, our programs, UNESCO, etc. But now in this session we really focus on the contribution by Switzerland based on different experiences at different contexts and that. So we start at the cantonal level. So here we are in Canton Repubblica e Cantone Ticino. In fact, so we are Republic, part of the Swiss Confederation. So Angelo Teotta is the General Director of the DMO of Canton Ticino. Maybe you can share something about your background. So he has a background in marketing, also in the fashion sector. And so thank you for accepting to present today, to be with us today. The floor is fully yours. So I will inform you when it's about 3 minutes to try.
Okay. Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this forum. Buon pomeriggio a tutti. Good afternoon to everybody. Oops, sorry, I was too fast. So one question is how sustainable Ticino is. This is a question I ask myself almost every day. For sure, if you go in the mountains or in our valleys, you have a wonderful landscape. If you are maybe in Lugano in the traffic hours, it's not, maybe you don't get the impression that Ticino is as sustainable as it is. So in fact, I will have a very pragmatic presentation with a few slides, and I will talk about how and what is sustainable in Ticino, because some of the things we do are very sustainable. What we are doing as DMOs and with the other DMOs. Here we have Nadia Lupi that will talk after me. She's representing the Mendrisiotto region. And then I will also give an overview about the partnerships, because as DMO alone, we cannot be sustainable. I mean, the whole destination must tend towards sustainability, and we need a lot of partners to bring the destination towards sustainability goals. What is sustainable in Ticino? We have a pristine landscape. More than 50% is forests. We have a lot of outdoor activities, and I would say sustainability is embedded in our DNAs. I mean, in general, in Switzerland, not only in Ticino, people are very responsible. They behave quite well. So somehow we are a sustainable country and a sustainable canton. We have also a lot of tradition, crafts, and local products. I'm not talking only about wine and gastronomy, but we have also a lot of craftsmanship in the territory, and it's very important for us. There are a lot of activities to maintain the culture and the craftsmanship of our destination. We have a lot of partners who are virtuous, who have a virtuous behavior, and are sustainable, and are trying also to start to communicate what they are doing well in terms of sustainability. We are working towards accessible tourism. That's very important for us. So we want to give access to all people with disabilities, physical and mental disabilities, or to elderly people, etc., to our touristic attractions. We have, and this is very common in Switzerland, we have a unique transportation system. We cover almost every corner of the country and of the canton with public transportation. We have the Altransit. Altransit is somehow very sustainable. People can come to us from the rest of Switzerland in an efficient and sustainable way. And for example, we have a good example is the Ticino ticket, of which I will talk now. I will give you a kind of structured presentation of what we are doing short-term and medium, long-term as DMOs, what kind of activities we are pushing in terms of sustainability. The first one, as I said, is for us is a flagship product, is the Ticino ticket. Maybe some of you don't know it, but in Ticino, if you sleep in whatever hotel or youth hostel, you get a free ticket that gives you access to all public transportation. You can travel for 24 hours for free on train, on buses, and you get a discount on all touristic attractions of Canton Ticino, museums, whatever, culture, mountain leaves, etc., events, concert. So this is, for us, it's a flagship and it's a sustainable product. In fact, since last year, it's even more sustainable because the ticket has been digitalized, so we don't print a lot of paper as we did in the past. I think somebody talk about you about Sustainable, which is a program of Swiss tourism, a very important program. For sure, we are part of this program, like every other canton in Switzerland. We even pushed others, our DMOs, but also all tourist operators to be part of the program. In fact, Ticino is going quite well. We have, at the time being, more than 80 operators, which have one of those three levels, either committed, engaged, or leading. We ourselves at Ticino Turismo, we got the number 2 certification. We are engaged. And we will for sure continue to push tourism to have as much as possible attractions part of Sustainable. Actually, our goal as a destination is to get the level 2 or 3 as a destination Sustainable. This program will be launched actually next week by Swiss Tourism in Interlaken. They will talk about the Sustainable level at destination level. Then, for example, it's also important to communicate. It's part of our sustainability efforts. Since almost 2 years, we have a dedicated section in our website, one for B2B and the other one for B2C. In the B2B, for example, we explain to our customers in which way they can travel in a sustainable way in Ticino, what kind of transportation, which hotels or youth hostel or campings, etc., are more sustainable, etc., etc. That's for us is very important. The same we do for our partners, the B2B section. Another important thing for us was last year in October, we were able, thanks to the efforts of Switzerland Tourism and with the cooperation of the local OTR, and our efforts to do a partnership with the ATTA, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, and we hosted in Lugano from the 1st till the 5th of October, the Adventure Travel World Summit. We had more than 800 delegates from 64 countries, and this event was quite an important event, was very sustainable. It was the first time ever that it was a vegetarian event, the first vegetarian ATWS event, and all guests, they received the Swiss Travel Pass and the Ticino ticket. Just a small video, a short video.
It's clear to us we can't do without international events. To actually shake hands, look into each other's eyes, this kind of exchange is priceless and moves us forward. We do this in a place where participants can travel by clean and reliable public transport, and where local visitor cards are freely available to enjoy a longer stay in the region. Thanks to the compact nature of the event setup, it's easy to walk from the hotels to and in between the venues. Like so, we automatically become immersed into the local culture because it is all around us. And we also get to enjoy local, seasonal food that supports the regional economy. To minimize the event's footprint, we were supported to find sustainable venues using renewable energy sources. We avoided single-use materials or replaced them with sustainable options, and even let people decide if and what kind of giveaways they want. Because honestly, how often do you really keep the stuff that you got in a welcoming bag at an event? But the most important thing is that we honor nature and let it provide us with energy and inspiration. That is how it is possible to organize a sustainable global business event. And that is also the reason why we came back to Switzerland with the Adventure Travel World Summit.
Yeah, that was Shannon Stowell, the director of ATTA. Then, in the context of the TWS, we also organized a new project called B-Smart, Ticino B-Smart. It was a behavioral project. We worked with the people of ATTA and with Harvard University. The idea was to pick up 6 champions that were ready to implement some behavioral changes in the way they operate their business. So we pick up, for example, one hotel, one camping, another hotel, another kind of hotel, a mountain, Monte Tamaro, and swimming pool, leisure facility. I will just show you also very 2 short video of the 6 activities that we did.
This year at La Corte, the menu was redesigned to have special focus on sustainability and carbon footprint. As of right now, we have 80% of our products are from Switzerland, of which about 50% come from Ticino area. To minimize food waste, we manage our portion control. This means we research how much people actually eat and how much we serve, so we don't throw anything away. Starting this year, we introduced composting. We also employ food preparation methods, which employ 100% of the products we buy. This means if we peel a topinambur, we're going to use also the peel and the fruit without throwing anything away. Food choices and eating habits have so much to do with sustainable living. We as a food service provider believe that we can offer an experience which is enjoyable without adding any more difficulties to ourselves, without adding extra prices for our guests. By making sustainability part of our design, we basically make it a non-negotiable part of our operations.
I'll give you a second example, what we did with Splash and Spa in Monte Tamaro.
It's a very important part of our operation. A water park is using a lot of energy. Our goal is to reduce it and to make it maximum of 1 bathtub of heat and energy we need for one client. And I think this is for a huge water park with a lot of attractions really acceptable. We try to improve nearly every technical equipment in the park, from ventilation to filtration to water usage, heating. So it's a permanent work to optimize over the years. It's not always easy, but we do our best, and I'm quite proud we do it well. Yeah, we want to explain our clients better and more precise what we are doing. So we placed a few signs explaining how we do it, what we do, and this way we are convinced to explain to the guests that we do our best to make it as sustainable as possible.
Okay, some of the activities we did. Now I'm talking about the future. Actually, our most important project is that we recognize that alone, as DMOs, the effort to transition this canton towards sustainability was a too big effort for us. We also don't have all the competencies. So we decided to partner with an external company, Quantis. This is a project financed by us, by the 4 DMOs, but also by the Canton of Ticino, the Dipartimento di Finanza ed Economia. So we have a 3-year project to develop a roadmap, sustainability roadmap. You can see we started actually toward this year. The final will be arrival about 2025. We should be able, and the idea is to develop a complete strategy about sustainability and to implement and to start to implement it. In particular, we want to build, for example, a sustainability academy for the touristic sector, and we want to have this strategic roadmap. The final goal, for sure, is to be a certificate destination certificate by the GSTC index. This is our biggest ambition, because if you're not certificate, I mean, it's nice, but you don't have enough arguments also to convince your guests that they are in a sustainable destination. Very, very short about the partnership. As I said before, without partners, we wouldn't go nowhere. In terms of the roadmap, as I said, we are working with Quantis, with the Canton of Ticino, and also with the SUBSTI, the university here in Svizzera Italiana, and also with the Chamber of Commerce. So, because the Chamber of Commerce, the Canton are pushing what they call the CSR Lite, which is a program about corporate social responsibility. It's a self-certification where the companies, they can apply a self-certificate themselves, which is part of the certification. We were able to do that. It's recognized by Sustainable, but it's not enough. So we want to have our way in the tourism sector. That's why we are working with Quantis.
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay, yeah, I will do it. And then we have a lot of partners, for example, in the area of accessible tourism. We are working, the Swiss people, they know those brands for sure. If you're not Swiss, it's not so easy, but we are working with OK & Go, with Pro Infirmis, with Claire and George, and with Cerebral. All those entities, they provide the support for people with discapacities. Cerebral, for example, with people with cerebral discapacity. With Cerebral, we are working in a program to provide special wheelchair so that people with difficulties with the special wheelchair, they can go on some tracks and they have access, for example, to some mountains. Or this is a very interesting program. With OK & Go and Pro Infirmis, we are mapping all our attractions in the territory, cultural attraction, but not only. And with this mapping, the people are able to see if they can have access, for example, in wheelchair, to those attractions or not. So the idea to have all the attractions of the cantons mapped for an easy accessibility for everybody. And in terms of decarbonization, this I didn't mention before, but we as DMO, for sure, we did also our dirty washing. So since 2 years, we started to measure our emission, and we started a decarbonization program. For example, we are working with My Climate. All our emissions are then compensated with My Climate. And we work with Movitrends and Arcobaleno and Bike to Work. Those are activities, not only we, but also the local organization, the tourist organization, OTR. We push our employees, for sure, to use as much as possible public transportation and not the car. I'm finished.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So this is the perspective at the canton level. Then, in a sense, we zoom in and zoom out. So I'm inviting Nadia Fontana Lupi to join us. Yes. So Nadia Fontana Lupi, she is on the one side the director of the Organizzazione Turistica Regionale del Mendrisiotto e Basso Ceresio, so one of the 4 DMOs Angelo was referring to. So within the Canton Liémont, and by the way, the most important, because I'm living there, so the Ligornet is there. But she, at the same time, is also the president of WES, or World Heritage Experience Switzerland, which is the network of the World Heritage sites in Switzerland joined to do the touristic promotion together. So welcome, and thank you for inspiring us.
Yeah, thank you, Lorenzo. So they asked me to talk about tourism sustainability at World Heritage Sites. And that's why I'm not going to talk about my destination. I'm not going to talk about Mendrisiotto, which is the smallest region in Ticino, the southernmost region in Switzerland, and the very best one, as Lorenzo already said. But just wanted to show you why I'm here talking about World Heritage Sites in Switzerland. As Lorenzo said, I'm the director of a small destination, but at the same time, those are just some of the different hats I try to deal with. I'm president of the association, but why am I so much involved in this relation with the heritage in Switzerland? It all began about 20 years ago when I arrived in Mendrisiotto, and I started to talk with the people dealing with Monte San Giorgio. Monte San Giorgio is a World Heritage Site. It's not one of the most simple to sell, to present, because we are talking about fossils, and they are about 240 million years old, so nothing simple to explain. And I've been vice president of the foundation of Monte San Giorgio, and I learned a lot at that time. At the same time, since 2008, I'm also a member of the board of the foundation of Processioni della Settimana Santa di Mendrisio, Holy Procession of Mendrisio, and I had also the duty to prepare the documentation for the candidature of Processioni to the Intangible Cultural Representative List of UNESCO. So I'm really very much involved in all what is related with heritage in Switzerland. But Lorenzo didn't say that he's also very much involved in this WES, as we call it. Yeah, the Holy Procession as well, but he's also involved in the WES, as we call it, World Heritage Experience Switzerland, because he's also a member of the board with me. So it's a great pleasure to have him with us, because I think that the cooperation with the Università della Svizzera Italiana is very important to us. Let's go further and have a look at the Swiss situation. Switzerland is small, quite small, but has got a lot of very important heritages. And as you see, they're all split out around Switzerland. So that does also mean that there are different culture, different language spoken in the different sides of Switzerland. And so the three conventions signed by Swiss are not enough. They don't really help us that much when we have to deal with the cooperation between Switzerland and between heritage sites which are so different one from the other for many, many, many points. Stakeholders. I don't know if you can imagine how many stakeholders you have to deal with when you are on heritage, when you've got a label, when you've got a UNESCO label. There are so many, and everyone has got his own needs. And you have to try to deal with them and to solve your problem and to present your problem in the right way, because if you don't do that, they don't even hear to your problems. So the challenge for an heritage, a new one, is to find a dialogue way, is to find a right or the best possible governance way, and to try to develop a sustainable tourism opportunity. not very simple job for them. So a couple of years ago, and that means 2009, we decided to create an association. It wasn't something which came from the government or from the cantoni, but it was really a need from the bottom, because everyone which was involved in a site, an heritage site, had to cope with a certain number of problems, and they thought they could be better organized, but also in a sense also better in their own job dealing with an heritage if they could cooperate a bit more together. But as I said before, the language is not the same. In the small country of Switzerland, we speak 4 languages. The government are not the same. The canton has got each one a very different way of dealing with heritage. So what we wanted to have, it was really somebody, a foundation or an association, and we went for the association, which could be able to help us doing one of each and all together better our job. So we thought to implement this World Heritage Experience Switzerland, and we tried to point out that World Heritage Sites in Switzerland tourism at a national level and correctly presenting the values of World Heritage could have been a plus. And in a way, we already knew that it wasn't that simple, but at the same time, we thought that managing the heritage sites and working on the raise of awareness was for sure something which was interesting for everybody in Switzerland, independently of which side they were dealing with. So we changed, and we tried to link the stakeholders we have to deal with and put in the center WES. And WES is also particular because in the board of WES, but also the partner of WES, are not just site manager or just people dealing with tourism, but we have both. We sit together, we discuss matters together, we try to get to common goals somehow, and we learn one from the other, which is also very, very important. So this cooperation was also neat because when you think about our World Heritage Site, maybe you're also saying, okay, fine, we are going to get a lot of money from somebody, from where and from who, I don't know, but this is a bit the idea, or most of the people, they think so, but it's not so. We have many obligations when we get a label, but there is no regulated funding from UNESCO or from the government. So we also have to try to finance our own job, our own way of dealing with our heritage from ourselves. And at the moment, the partner of WES are not just only the representative of the different sites we have in Switzerland, but also a couple more. The DMOs, also Ticino Turismo, is a partner, Switzerland Tourism, Museums, Foundation, Association. So we have really, since 2009, we have really built up a big deal within Switzerland. And we focus, nevertheless, always on common goals, which are the universal values and a national network. And at the same time, we are very conscious of the fact that we are really committed to sustainable tourism and to sustainable transmission. Nice, Valmisteyr. So let's come to sustainability. And let's talk about our network and the sustainability goals we share. We have created a central way of information. We have also tried to optimize resources. We are trying to give a correct narrative when we talk about the heritage sites. We all work for the raising of awareness and for a responsible tourism. And we exchange the knowledge of our members between us. We meet, we talk, we develop all the projects we have together from the bottom. There is nobody saying we have to do that or not to do that. But we decide together which is the direction we intend to go to. And we are trying to strengthen also a common identity. Each one, it's small. All together is already something, even if we are talking just about Switzerland. And I think that since 2009 until today, we have about 14 years, yes? We have really built up a lot. We are well known at the moment. We have got partners. We have a kind of direct dealing with a lot of partners also outside our gremium. And I think it has been a very long way to go, but at the end it was the right way to go because we couldn't have a better chance to present the heritage of Switzerland without WES. WES is central to us. WES is the response to the request of sustainability for the heritage sites. We have plenty of activities. Andrea Calzaccia is here today. Andrea is dealing with the tourism projects within this association, but we do also much more than not only tourism projects. And sustainable, also Angelo Trotta said about sustainable program in Switzerland. As an association, we talk to our members and we suggested to get this label as well. And all the organizations received the level 2. We, as WES, we don't have that much to deal with, so we just have got level 1 at the moment. One of our main points where we start with was tourism development. We develop every year an action plan, and we try to develop also a community platform which is useful for everybody. So if you go and look for ourheritage.ch, you will find a new platform which has been just presented a couple of months ago. And in this platform, you have to imagine that the content is not only given by the people dealing for WES in Bern for this project, but from each member of WES. So they deal with themselves alone, and they create this platform themselves somehow. We try also to give the right way to prepare the sustainable offers. Never forget that when we talk about DMOs, maybe the theme tourism is clear. When we talk to the site manager, it's not that clear, not for everybody. And not all the site managers have got plenty of time to deal with tourism. Most of them, they've just got short time for dealing with the wall, what they have to manage with. And one very important point is the correct usage of the words, which is really one of the main difference between WES and all the other tourist organizations. Tourism is tourism. I mean, they use everything, the pictures, the words. They just try to get in touch with so many people as possible. WES, it's for quality. It's not for quantity. WES wants the member to use correct word to get the right people visiting Switzerland and the heritage sites in Switzerland. And this is a very, very big difference between us and all the DMOs acting just like DMOs. Another point, also mentioned from Angelo before, is the development of the accessibility to all the offers, because this is also very important to be open to everybody, so far that we are an heritage, and also the slow mobility offers we are working on. About the cooperation, we are part of the Grand Tour of Switzerland. We also are part of the Grand Train Tours of Switzerland. We work with Swiss Travel System and with Eurotrack and Schweizmobil. None of our members could have really had the opportunity to get in touch with such partners on his own. It's just because there is WES and just because we created this association all together and that we go through this association towards those partners that we get those cooperation, which are very, very important. When I talk about tourism, sometimes I think that maybe it's not really the right way to present the communication we organize as WES. And we are also discussing this matter with the board because it's not just tourism, it's much more than tourism. It's transmission, it's really taking care of the heritage, it's not just selling something. And this is a big difference to me. And I think that raise of awareness and transmission is really the point we have to work on. Also here we have an yearly action plan. We deal with projects which come sometimes from the members, sometimes we propose something new. And we have also generated specific contents for every single heritage, but also for, in general, promoting the outstanding universal values of the heritage. One more point we have is this World Heritage Days in Switzerland. We meet all together. We try to get the attention of the local population in any case and not from the tourists because we also think, I heard that we are not the only one, but we also think that it's also important to commit the local people and to transfer to them first the information if we want them to be able to be the best ambassador for the heritage. Just in short, International network, we also work with other associations which are present in France, in Germany, and in Italy and Spain, and other countries in Europe, to try to get farther outside of Switzerland, outside of our daily problems and solving problems, to get new ideas and new opportunities for cooperation. Here is a resume, a summary of what we make and how we think we work with our members. But I think that one of the most important things which are pointed out on this slide is the very last sentence. You only love what you know and you only protect what you love. And this is really a motto, a way to think, a way to deal with our member as WES. And I think that we are really acting as a very sustainable association in all, and that our members do feel like that. I mean, they really like the way we deal with them. And if you want to know more, our heritage is the site. And if you want to know more, Andrea knows better than me a lot of things because he's also dealing with all the partners every day. So please, you're more than welcome when you have questions. Thank you.
Grazie mille, thank you so much. Nadia, so both Angelo Tota and Nadia were mentioning a few times this program titled Sustainable. And so I'm very happy to invite now Romy Bacher. She's the head of sustainability at the Swiss Tourism Federation, and she will present a talk about sustainable. Together we shape Switzerland as a sustainable tourism destination. Please.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, and hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. It was such an insightful and inspiring day so far, and I'm looking forward to introduce you the next couple of minutes to Sustainable, our sustainability program for the Swiss tourism sector, but also an overall strategy that we have. And the goal is really to shape Switzerland as a sustainable tourism destination together with all our partners. Some of them are here today, and it's really nice to see what they're working on. And I will give you some insights on the program itself. As mentioned before, I'm head of sustainability at the Swiss Tourism Federation. For those of you who don't know our federation, our task is basically to coordinate and represent all the interests of various tourism stakeholders towards authorities, towards the public. And we also focus on certain topics, such as, for example, sustainability, where we work on projects, and Sustainable as a program is one of those projects. There's no future without sustainability. It's quite a bold statement, and we all know that it's true. But what does sustainability in tourism mean? I will not go into detail. I think you all know this model with the 3 different dimensions. But what I would like to mention is that we still see to this day that within the tourism sector, when I talk to tourism service suppliers, they see sustainability mostly out of this ecological perspective. So for us, it's also about educating. It's about showing that sustainability can be more than just ecological topics, that it's also about social and economic topics. And at the moment, we have a lot of discussions going on, and it's all about CO2 emissions. And we have to be aware that those dimensions, of course, they interact, they interfere with each other. And whenever we, for example, stop marketing activities in long-haul markets to reduce CO2 emissions, we have to be aware of the fact that this will have an impact on other dimensions. And that's something we often see that it's not considered, or that people don't really know how far also these impacts can go. And that's an important work we have to focus on as well within our program, but also within our daily business. The good thing is that we are already quite far. As Angelo mentioned before, sustainability is something that we have already in our Swiss tourism DNA, and a lot of touristic assets that we use, that we promote every day, such as our public transport system, our nature, our air quality, our water quality, we are already leading in a lot of topics. And that's also shown when we look at different rankings, for example, those reports here, but not something that we would like to rest on. We should, of course, also focus on developing other topics, on working to a more sustainable future. So sustainability is not only now an important asset and something also that we use within our positioning, but it will be something that is crucial also for the future. I would also like to have a look at certain developments and current challenges that we face within the tourism sector. What's really important to see that the needs of our guests are changing. And I brought an extract of the Sustainable Travel Report with me from Booking. And that shows quite clear that from those 30,000 people they asked worldwide about their intention of sustainable travel, almost 80% said that they would like to book, in this case, a sustainable accommodation within the next year. But only 50% or almost 50% booked accommodation, sustainable accommodation last year. So we have this intention, this behavioral gap we talked about before already. And that's also something we have to work on. We have to see why is this gap? What kind of excuses do the guests have? Where can we start? What kind of, for example, offerings, packages, and so on have we to offer in order to make sure that all of those guests who would like to travel in a more sustainable way, in order that they are also able to do that. We also have certain travel trends that are leading us to more sustainable offers, but also help us to focus on these topics. So we can see after Corona, all our guests, they're usually focusing on a more authentic regional travel. They like to use more public transport. They tend to stay longer. And all those trends and changes also help us to be more sustainable and also to create offers that are basically answering to those trends and needs. And we see that also on the market. Here I have two examples from Google Travel and Booking.com, so two big search engines or platforms that already use sustainability also as a filter option, for example, or a way to differentiate between different kind of offers. And that's something that we see is coming up more and more. And it's also important to tell our touristic suppliers that they can use their sustainable actions, their work with sustainability, to make this visible towards the guest. Furthermore, we have a lot of new collaborations and conditions between BNP partnerships that are coming up. Brought some examples here in German, but it's just to show you what's already happening on the market. So whenever we talk about business travel, for example, I have here an example of Siemens as a big company that are focusing more and more also on sustainable travel. So it's not a question, for example, for Siemens, if they book a sustainable accommodation or if they compensate CO2 carbon emissions and so on. It's basically something that they're doing right now, and it's also something they're willing to do in the future. And of course, last but not least, we also have the political guidelines. In Switzerland, for example, the sustainable development is one of our goals within the tourism strategy, and we also focus, of course, on the 17 sustainable development goals. For us as a tourism sector, those are really helpful guidelines, and we have to be aware that we are really depending on this framework. We're depending also on public money, so for us it's really important also to work within those guidelines. So how can we create a more sustainable tourism country, Switzerland, when we have all those trends, we have these political guidelines? We decided to create a program, and we use this program as a vehicle to transport all those ideas within the market, to help service providers to work on sustainability and also to create a movement. So Sustainable as a brand stands for all these kind of activities, all the work that our touristic suppliers have already done and are doing in the future. And it's a mix basically out of the word Switzerland and sustainability, as you can see. And it stands as a brand for all those sustainability actions within the market. So our vision is quite bold, like the statement I showed before. It's to become the most sustainable travel destination worldwide. We know that it's also hard to measure and to compare, but it's more about a vision that we have that we can really follow together as a whole tourism sector. And I'm always talking about the sector because it's really a broad community we're talking about, also a sector with a lot of different branches, such as accommodation. Then we have transport, public transport, we have gastronomy and so on. So what are the objectives and goals of this program? Basically, it's about transparency and orientation. So we would like to offer guidance for our guests because we know there are a lot of certifications on the market. A lot of companies are working on sustainability, but it's not always transparent. And within this label jungle for the guests, it's hard to really differentiate. It's hard to orientate. So Sustainable as a brand, as a program should help. Then it's also a support for the industry. We have different tools within the program. We have a lot of knowledge transfer. We have this community we're using to implement sustainability within the tourism sector. And then, last but not least, it's all about positioning as well. I mean, whenever we have this strong brand, whenever we can use the strong brand also to show what sustainability in Swiss tourism means, that helps us to position Switzerland as a destination. So it's really nice to say that it's a program designed from the industry for the industry. You can see some of the involved partners here on this slide. The program was designed by Switzerland Tourism together with our academic partner, the University of Applied Science in Lucerne. And we from the Swiss Tourism Federation, we were also involved in the process. Since a bit more than 1 year, we are also responsible for the whole administration of the program. And together with our other partners, with the big touristic federations we have, such as Hotellerie Suisse, for example, Gastro Suisse, we really make sure that we can implement the program within the whole tourism sector. And I'm always talking about the program because that's what it is. It's not a certification, it's more of a meta program we designed to make sure that we really can have an approach that is accessible to every company within Switzerland. So we have three different levels. We're starting with level 1, with quite a low entry barrier for all those companies are just starting with the process. And of course, for all those companies that are a bit further in the process, that, for example, already have certain certifications in place, we have level 2 or 3. You can see the requirements also on this slide. So we have a mix basically out of own instruments that we offer within the program. We start with a commitment. That's basically a contract companies sign where they also have a list of different topics and values we have within the program. Then we use a sustainability check where companies can see where they're standing at the moment and where there is still room for improvement. And then we work also with an action plan. This is combined with the so-called sustainability credentials for level 2 and 3. And together with those measures and those requirements, we have quite a holistic approach. It's also quite a simple, pragmatic approach because we have to be honest, we have a lot of different companies within the tourism sector. We have a lot of small companies, we have limited resources. And with this simple but effective approach, we're really able to create this movement. The sustainability credentials are basically the backbone of our program, and we've heard before there are some programs that we also accept, or certifications that we accept within Sustainable. Angelo mentioned the OK Go initiative before, that's a credential we accept. We have basically a mix out of international certifications, regional initiatives, programs, and so on, that are accepted within the program. And the goal is really, as I mentioned before, to create more transparency and orientation for the whole tourism sector, but also towards the guest. The good news is, after 2 years, we have 1,800 companies within Switzerland that are part of the program. Since it's a program for a whole tourism sector, it's really hard to define the whole target group. But we're talking about almost 35,000 companies that could be part of the program. So as you can see, we already have a lot, but there's still quite a lot of potential as well. So here you can see the current registration status. I talked about 1,800 companies. Not all of them have gone through this process yet. So we have about 60% that are classified at level 1, 2, or 3. And also quite a big part that is still in the process. That has different reasons, but together with my team, of course, we're working on helping, supporting these businesses to go through this process. But we also see that the tourism sector and all the companies face a lot of challenges nowadays. And one is, of course, that usually they have quite limited personal resources as well. So we do our best also together with our partners. For example, the local DMOs, tourism organizations are really helpful in this process because they are quite close to the touristic service providers and they really help us also to spread the idea. As you can see here, we have almost 20 different categories within the program, and our goal is really to provide a program for the whole touristic, that covers the whole touristic value chain. So the hotels is a category that is quite big actually. 40% of our participants are hotels, and we have a lot of restaurants as well. But of course, we also try to focus on the other suppliers and other supplier categories. What's also nice to see is that we were able to establish the program after 2 years within whole Switzerland. So you have to be careful here with the numbers. Those are absolute numbers, and the regions are not all, they don't have all the same size. But as we heard before, Ticino was a long time, they were leading. They had or still have a lot of suppliers that are part of the program. And we also see that the program was able to establish within the French-speaking and German-speaking part. So what's important as well is that the program is free of charge, but we have to be transparent here, of course. Whenever a company is defining certain measures or when they work together with certifications, that's quite an investment, not only financial-wise, but also when it comes to staff that is involved. But the program itself, it's free of charge. So that's also something we did on purpose, of course, to make sure that we gather as many partners as possible. So I brought some best practice examples with me. I did not choose any examples from Ticino on purpose because we already saw a lot of good ones today. So this location here is also part of the program. Ticino Turismo is part of the program. Then we have all the World Heritage Sites. So I brought some other examples with me. Here we have one at level 1. It's the Stoßbahn, a mountain railway. And I've just took out some of the measures they implement within the program. So just have a look at it. Mostly as a mountain railway, of course, they're talking about energy. That's quite an important topic for most of them. Then we have a shipping company. Here we can see that this is a good example of a mix. So they define different measures within those 3 dimensions. And what's interesting as an example here is the CO2 compensation they offer whenever you buy a ticket. We also see that, for example, in hotels. So hotels use that as well. And that's a good example that we have to be aware that the responsibility is not only at the company side. So you can also involve the guests and also make sure that the guests are aware that they have a certain responsibility as well. So the Swiss Youth Hostels, also a leading company within our program. They started their sustainability journey really early in the 80s. So whenever you have the chance to visit one of those locations, have a look what they're doing because they're really leading when it comes to sustainability. And the last one is a former monastery in eastern Switzerland, the Kartause-Ittigen, and they also have quite a holistic approach when it comes to sustainability. What's nice that they're also focusing on the social dimension with training, so they have more than 20 apprentices in 9 different professions, and that's of course also a measure when we look at the challenges we have at the moment with missing workforce and so on. It's also a nice measure that they're implementing. So far, so good. I think you can have a look at the benefits. I'm running out of time, but what's important to say, of course, there are a lot of different benefits. It also depends where the company is starting, where they're coming from. And it's not only about marketing. Of course, the whole program does not work without the marketing benefit behind it. But for us, it's really an effective tool. It's really about creating a movement and make sure that every company, every touristic company in Switzerland comes along on this journey with us. So if you would like to learn more about sustainable, have a look at our website or just talk to me later on. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I hope you gain some insights on sustainable.
My question, I don't know if it's more for Nadia or for Romy. I was curious about how many of the World Heritage of Switzerland has already the label and of course the body that are in charge of that.
All of them.
All of them already? Wow. Great.
We made sure of that.
Yeah. It's a really nice collaboration we have with the West, because we were really able to have all the program or all the heritage sites within our program, and I think that's an important sign, especially when we see what they're doing. So it's nice to have partners like this heritage sites also within our program.
Just a follow-up question to that. So I'm interested in the heritage sites participating in the sustainable brand and wondering what kind of sort of support do they get in terms of heritage sites, because they're obviously not trained for tourism services or service providing as tourist operators. So I'm wondering about what kind of support site managers get in terms of these measures.
So we have a program and we offer tools. Those are those requirements you saw before, and it's up basically to every company or every heritage site to individually see, you know, if this check they're doing and also if the measures they're defining where they would like to focus on. But of course we support them. Our support is mainly also with the work we do within the community, so we share a lot of good practice examples. We have a partner communication with social media, newsletter and so on, but that's also still growing. And when it comes to the heritage sites, maybe you can also share your point of view, but they are already quite far. So I would say they don't really need my support because they know their business and they know what they can do. But for them, for companies that are that far already, it's maybe more about the marketing benefits after all and the community partnership.
I think that in any case, even as a DMO, and not only like Wes also did, we do assist our partners, our stakeholders, so they know that a DMO or Wes can help them filling up all the procedure, documents and so on. So there is really, as already also Angelo Trotta said before, we are very near to our stakeholders because we know that it is important that they do apply and they do get this sustainable label. And so far that we want them to be helped, we have to give our disposal, yes.
Thank you. This is really interesting from all the speakers. I'm curious about each of your views about companies who see the marketing potential but then engage in greenwashing, so they aren't doing it for the right reasons. How do you approach that? How do you deal with that? How do you get business to be more sincere in their involvement? And is it a concern at all?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I guess we have this very nice word, greenwashing, but it was the right time to have it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's a really important topic, and also something, also criticism that we hear every day also towards the program. But of course, we make sure within the application process that every company is checked carefully. You can never, you know, there are always black sheets around, so yes, of course, but we make sure that they don't misuse any communication or that they, you know, have misleading communication and so on. But of course, it's also about our work, so we have to make sure that we educate, that we, you know, keep them on board or get them on board and keep them on board. But we can never prevent any company or like stakeholder from, doing the wrong thing. I mean, it's just part of the game. But it's all about education. I think the whole communication about sustainability is really important, and it's also something we in the future would like to focus on, and also, you know, hand over information, for example, or organize a webinar on this topic to make sure that companies are aware what they can do and what they shouldn't do.
But there is no monitoring. There is no monitoring of.
No, I have to be honest. I mean, the program is free of charge. I have one colleague full-time working on the program with 1,800 companies. So, I mean, we don't have the chance to monitor each company, but since we are not a certification, more of a program, it's also a lot about self-responsibility. And of course, we also hope that the companies use the logo and the communication in the right way. And whenever I see, a case where that's not the case, then of course we take actions, that's for sure.
Thank you. Just a piece of information here. I'm sure you don't monitor, like for example, even Slovenian Tourism Board, who also has a similar scheme, does not monitor, for example, accommodation providers or businesses. But for example, if a business has a travel life sign or seal or certificate, they are monitoring. So as far as I understand, you need to have one of those labels, and then they get sustainability as well. So there is a monitoring, but
from this part, yes, you're right.
For level 3, right?
So we have this control mechanism, basically, because of the certifications we accept. So all those companies at level 2 or 3, they get controlled by these certifications.
But what is my question here is, for example, I just checked for the Slovenian green scheme. Like when we started, everything started in 2007, but later on we introduced the scheme and so on and so forth. So what was the trend was that, for example, DMOs at the local level, they joined tremendously. Like I think we had almost all destinations joining. Although it's payable in Slovenia, they have to pay with the monitoring process and things like that. But later on, I see a lot of businesses now joining, right? But I wonder how you motivate businesses, because in Slovenia we had to change something to get businesses on board. Local DMOs, which are mostly public organizations, they joined, but businesses didn't want to. But now it's kind of a rule, mechanism behind it. If you don't have a green scheme, anyone, then you're not eligible co-funding from the National Tourism Board. So now they kind of had to push them. It's not on a voluntary basis. I don't know how you're doing this with the Switzerland businesses.
I mean, we don't have like official incentive, but of course the pressure is growing also because the program is growing and the marketing activities behind the program are also growing. So we have a lot of campaigns planned this year together with Switzerland Tourism, which is our national tourism organization, and they are responsible for all the marketing activities around the program. And that's what I said before, this program doesn't work without the marketing behind it. So we need those activities in order that the companies can also use the logo, their work behind, sustainable, to make that visible towards the guest. And I think that's a certain incentive that most of the companies also use, or that motivates them to be part of sustainable. But we see as the community is also growing, it's a lot about being part of this movement. And I also see that a lot of companies that are doing a lot when it comes to sustainability, they want to use the program also to make that more visible, not only towards the guests, but also within their own network. And they also, benefit from this exchange within the network.
Thank you. I have a question for Angela. Angela, is there kind of a competition among the different cantons in this field, or?
No, I wouldn't say we have a competition. Actually, when Switzerland Tourism was developing the Sustainable program, we were involved, we were asked. We have the RDK, which is the Association of the Regional Director of Swiss Tourism, and we choose for the Sustainable program. We like the name, not this combination between Swiss and sustainability. And for sure, from time to time, we compare who is leading, who is not, but it's a friendly competition. I think the most important issue is that Switzerland as a whole is seen from abroad as a sustainable country as a whole. And from this point of view, we profit each destination, each canton, but also each single destination as a country.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's similar for the universities in a sense. Yeah, first it's important to be part of the family in a sense. Yeah, it's not saying I'm the first, the second. Okay. Yeah, we might have the coffee break 5 minutes earlier, but not that sure. So that's right. Engel, this colleague Engel Ruas, yeah, please come. He is a very good colleague. He has been the director of the UNESCO office in Venice for 6-7 years, I guess, something like that. And he's an expert in lichenology, so very complex stuff. But he wanted to show us a tripendulum or tripendulum. Yeah, it told me it takes 5 minutes. I will check. 5 minutes, not 1 minute more, and then we have the break.
Okay, I have heard sustainability quite a lot today. I have also seen question mark, well, what is really sustainability? And I can tell you I'm in the business since 30 years after Rio, and I still do not have an answer. But I have a visualization for you. This is made by the Institute for Physics from the Max Planck Institute, who after the Rio convention conference.
So it's easier to be seen.
Yeah, but I cannot reach you. So I will show you what means sustainability without knowing exactly what it is. So it's a tripendulum. We take tourism as one of the dimensions. If we are acting, actually we can foresee that it is about 50% that this pendulum is going to the left side or the right side. Some of you, probably half, would say left or right. So let's see what's happening. Yeah, it went left. So your actions are very easy, predictable, what will happen. Now we have a second component.
This is not a Swiss knife.
So we have now two components. We take nature, for example, as a secondary source. So tell me, what is happening? Is it going to the left side or to the right side?
Maybe both.
Both.
Maybe.
So the impact of our actions are already very difficult to see if we take an action. And now sustainability has 3 dimensions.
More than that. According to us, it is 4, but yeah, let's see. So we need a.
Very dangerous sustainability. Okay, so now we have culture as a 3rd dimension. And we are taking action in one of the fields of these 3 dimensions. So what is the predictability of the impact of your actions? Nothing at all. It's not anymore predictable. And all what I can say, sustainability is a complex system. And nobody really can oversee this complex system. The only chance we may have to be nearer to an explanation what is sustainability will be the artificial intelligence. That may help us to understand much more about sustainability. That means we have to act in a complex system, in a chaotic system, without knowing exactly what will happen.
Yeah,
thank you.
like climate, basically. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, and are you selling it or no?
There are only 96 prototypes. This is number 95, so I will keep it.
Okay, so it's keeping
The
it.
last 30 years. Yeah.
Good. So unless there is a really burning question left, I would suggest that we start the coffee break, and so we will start pünktlich, on time, in